Well, happy Friday, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on Up North Live Unscripted at 6:30. After a week of a lot of snow for some areas, things are starting to quiet down a bit tonight, but it is really chilly out there, and we know it's only going to get colder as the night goes on. But Joe, is it going to warm up a little bit this weekend?
Yeah, and tomorrow looks like a pretty nice weekend coming up as well. Thanks, Adam. Adam's our director. He's heading home now. Or he shut the door, anyway, to the studio. He's a good guy, Adam Furens, if you ever run into him. Anyway, we're looking at what should be a decent weekend. It's going to be cold tonight, single digits and teens, but then we'll warm up into a lot of 30s tomorrow, Maya, and some 40s by the end of the weekend, and that's going to bring in probably a bit of melting from the snow that we've had. But then a week from now, and I've kind of given the whole thing away, but we might see more snow. So You know what? We're going to have 3 minutes set aside to tell you all about that a little later.
More details coming
up.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Let's start off with one of our top local stories that we've been working on today. The Mackinac Island City Council has frozen ferry prices for 2025. Now, this comes after the ferry companies requested to raise the rates, and our very own Daniel Zivian breaks down what the council wants and how the ferry companies are responding.
At the docks in St. Ignace, a new old familiar logo has graced the signage. The Arnold Transit Company brand returning to replace Starline, which was bought this summer by David Hoffman, who already owned Shepler's.
Subject to the gap.
At a city council meeting, both companies proposed a $2 hike for standard round trips, reaching as high as $38 for adults riding Shepler's. According to a post by Councilman Jason St. Onge, the increase was rejected 4-1. The resolution says the city wants more info about the company's revenue and expenses and will hire a consultant to assist with regulating the ferries. This is the first disagreement between Mackinac Island and Hoffman since the consolidation, as council and the ferries worked together through Starline's emergency fleet maintenance. Another contentious issue is coming up next year. The ferries must propose their parking rates by January 8th. In St. Ignace, Daniel Zivian, Up North Live News.
And we did reach out to Hoffman's Marine Division for comment, and this is what we heard back. Quote, since we did not raise rates last year, we felt that a modest 2.5% increase was not something that would have great effect and would allow us to continue to expand and provide a first-class, efficient service to and from the island. We're very disappointed in the council decision, but we do look forward to continuing our partnership with them. And for more on this story, let's bring in Daniel Zivian, who reported on it today. He is joining us live now from, looks like, his car. Hey, Danny, thanks so much for coming on Unscripted.
Hi, Maya. Thank you for having me. I'm here in Alanson, and it turns out there's actually a winter festival happening. So it's a very busy night here.
A little side story there. Maybe you have to go investigate that after this. But okay, so do you know some background on prices when it comes to ferry rates? Like, do ferry companies normally change them every year, or how often does this happen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was worried you weren't going to narrow it down because there is so much background in general to this story. When it comes to the ferry prices, first of all, the number one thing to understand that was a bit of a confusion over the summer when the acquisition was happening and all of this stuff was happening. The city council does set the price. Every year, the ferry companies submit a proposal to the city council that includes the pricing, the schedule. So it comes up for renewal every year. And I believe it's either every so often or maybe every year there's been increases over the past many years. Over time, there's a trend line of the prices just steadily going up. It's it seems to have always been more or less a rubber stamp, not really a topic of huge contention. But that was, of course, before the Hoffman family of companies bought out Starline, which, since it already owned Shepler's, put both passenger ferry companies. Actually, I think they also own Arnold Freight as well. All of the companies under one corporate banner. In the resolution, the word monopoly is used. That's a word that everyone involved with this that I've talked to over the past many months has kind of avoided using out loud. But the word monopoly does come up in the printed resolution that was approved by council. And so, that's kind of why this is happening. They're kind of grappling with this new reality. Like, oh, now they're going to propose an increase. Well, wait a minute. We need to really take a look at this for the future.
So we know the ferry companies were asking for a 2.5% increase. Do you know what the impact would have been on if they would have got that increase? And like, where does all this money go, basically?
Well, where the money goes for the company is the question that the council wants answered.
Okay.
They said in the resolution, it says that, we heard oral testimony today from the companies, but we'd like a bit more about the revenue and the expenses they claim they have. It should be said that Hoffman is already putting millions of dollars, and this was announced a while ago, millions of dollars into upgrading the Starline fleet, the former Starline fleet. Now it's called Arnold Transit. So many moving parts. But we can get to that in a moment. If you're a family going to Mackinac Island and, say you're not getting like a fancy schmancy group rate or whatever, which did get accepted by the council in this particular proposal. They only put the freeze they put a freeze in general, but accepted the group rate prices, but not the increase. If you're a family of 4 and you walk up to the ticket counter and just get, 4 straight tickets, both the adult tickets and the child tickets are $2 more expensive at each company, with a slight gap. Arnold is the slightly cheaper one. Shepler's more expensive than that. So again, that top price that an adult could be paying, a single adult, is $38. But people go to Mackinac Island as families most often. It's known as a family destination. So, it's sort of, when I look at the Facebook post that Jason St. Ange made in that Facebook group, a lot of people commented their concern about feeling like they can go as often as they used to with their families. Perhaps a feeling of being priced out. Again, that's just anecdotal and only a potential effect of what could happen if an increase is approved down the line.
And as someone who grew up in northern Michigan and has gone to Mackinac Island many, many times throughout my life, I definitely have noticed the increases over the years. And I think it is one of those things where when you go so often and then you do see the price continue to climb every year, it's easy to complain like, oh, wow, this is so much more expensive now than it was back in the day. But I mean, everything is so much more expensive now than it was back then. But I think what people, myself included, don't realize is how much it does actually cost to run a ferry business and keep up with maintenance on these very large ferries and just everything that actually goes into what the ferry companies are doing.
Absolutely. Although that also leads to the next question, which some people seem to feel that might not be as connected, and so there shouldn't be as much of an excuse on, and that's parking. Parking year-round for residents who leave their cars in St. Ignace, parking for people who stay overnight. Parking rates are going to be up for proposal. The proposed rates are due by January 8th, 2025, and that is going to be probably another contentious meeting. And that's something that should be said about this story. Of course, you'll notice I didn't have any interviews for this story, and that's because the people I called didn't want to go on the record. So, for example, I called Jason St. Ange. He allowed us, he confirmed for us that his Facebook post was authentic and it was probably the closest thing to a traditional news release that the island was going to put out. And so that made it a valid source for tonight's story. But I also called Mayor Dowd's office directly, no dice. And of course, we had the comment from Hoffman Marine, but I actually spoke with Jenny, the president of Hoffman Marine, on the phone, and she didn't even want to be audio recorded. She just wanted to give a quote. We weren't at this meeting that happened, but it sounds like, from everything that I've heard, that it was a bit contentious. And this is because, as I said in the package, it's the first major disagreement that's come up. There have been obstacles, but council and the ferry companies worked through them together. This represents a major break. And people just didn't really want to talk about it, didn't want to stir the pot, as it were, put themselves out there on video and say something that they might regret later. People are just being very careful about this story. I think also just because they're tired. It sounds like this meeting was a pretty fatiguing one, and they don't really want to relitigate all of that themselves.
So is this something that the ferry companies will come back to the council next year and ask for potentially another price hike?
It's quite possible, even if it's just because of the rate of inflation, the way everything just goes up in general. It's a question of whether things are outpacing inflation and whether there's too much of a gap for people with less money to still be able to come to the island. But since these ferry prices come up for renewal every single year, that's just how the process is designed to work. This will, this time next year, we will certainly see whether or not they try to propose an increase again or not, or try to do maybe a more creative solution. If you've got two companies in it, even if they're owned by the same one, do they maybe make Arnold Transit have a substantially lower price but keep Shepler's up there? One thing that people were concerned about was the monopoly aspect they were concerned about during the summer, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that, if only because, running both of those companies as one singular company would be a real stretch. Both companies in the past have employed so many people. They have a lot of real estate. If they were actually all under one banner, things would get very confusing. So it is important to note that even though it's the same corporation, both companies are still operating with different presidents who have their own different staff. There's a lot of, if you think of it as one company, then you'll think, well, there's a lot of redundancy here.
Right.
But they are operating as two companies, but with a very, very aligned goals. Because, of course, these proposals came in together.
Right. All right, Danny, well, thanks so much for joining us tonight and for going into more detail about your story. I'm sure this is a topic that we will be hearing updates from in the future. But let's turn things over to our question of the day, which is indeed related to this story. Is the price for Mackinac Island ferry tickets fair or too expensive? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. We have 462 votes as of right now and quite a few Facebook comments, 41 comments. So at the end of the show, we will take another look at the live results and at some of those comments. But we have a story that's kind of an update to something we first shared with you yesterday in our 11 o'clock show and 6 o'clock show, and that is a pretty scary accident that happened here on I-94. Take a look at this video. So a box truck actually slid into a couple fire trucks and a sheriff's deputy's cruiser. Luckily, no one was hurt. The person in the box truck did end up going to the hospital, but we're told he is going to be okay. So this accident is shining light about a law that's been in place in Michigan for about 5 years now. And that law states that when first responders are working on the side of the road, it is required that you move over and give them as much space as you can, or you could potentially be pulled over. So Colin Roos has more on this story. Oh, right? Do we have the full package? No? Okay, here we go. Let's take it.
If I see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, the lights on, slow down, move over.
That's the thought Michigan State Police Lieutenant Dwayne Robinson wants every driver to have when they see those flashing lights on the side of the road. Even though everyone escaped without serious injury, Thursday's accident has put even more focus on the 2019 Move Over law. When first responders are on the side of the road and have their emergency lights on, motorists must slow down to at least 10 miles per hour below the speed limit and, if possible, fully move over into the other lane. Violators could receive 2 points on their license and a $400 fine for violating it, and even more if emergency personnel are injured or killed.
The officers will then, and many times they will abandon what they're initially doing out there and then pursue that vehicle that violated the move over law.
He says it's leading to a decrease in what he calls mindless driving past emergency vehicles, but move over violators still cause accidents. Last month, an SUV struck a Grand Rapids Fire Department trailer on US 131, and in January, an MSP trooper lost his life while conducting a traffic stop in Saginaw County. Kalamazoo County Sheriff Richard Fuller says accidents lead to backups, which then cause other accidents.
It only takes one person acting outside of what they should be to cause a pretty serious condition or accident.
Let's take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes with much more on your weekend forecast.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back, everyone. If you have any outdoor or travel plans this weekend, you're probably wondering what the weather is going to be like. Well, good thing we have a meteorologist here to tell us what we can expect. How lucky are we?
I just happen to be here. Wow, what a coincidence. It is busy. It's a week or so, week and a half before Christmas, but a lot of people shopping, running errands coming up here. Want to show you though, Maya, the sunset tracker. We actually now at night are starting to gain daylight. Yep. So the sunset tonight was 5:01. Tomorrow night on the 14th, it's going to be 5:02.
I will take it.
Now, this is for Traverse City, these numbers, but if you're in Alpena, it'll be like 10 minutes difference from this.
Right.
So, but you get the rough idea. Now, you might say, well, I thought the shortest day of the year is on winter, the first day of winter, like December 21st. That is true. So you might be like, well, how are we gaining daylight already? We are at night, but we're losing still more in the morning.
I see.
And so the 21st will be the shortest day when you add it all up. And then you can see by January 3rd, look at the sunset, 5:14. And you know what, Maya? By June 21st, it'll be 9:32.
Oh, I can't wait.
We have a warming trend on the way. Cold tonight, but 30s tomorrow, 40s Sunday and Monday. Some rain arrives as well. We could see a little bit of a mix early Sunday, showers Monday, and then next week late. We're talking next Friday. That's a week from now into the weekend. Just noodle this away. You heard it here first. We could see some snow and maybe some lake effect next Saturday. So next weekend might not be the best for travel. Here's a look at temperatures right now. Look at Cadillac, by the way, kind of bragging there down to 5. Well, you drive up to Traverse City, it's 15 degrees warmer, 20 degrees there. We will gradually start seeing a bit of a warming trend, though, coming in. I'll have more on that in a moment. Radar still showing a little bit of snow. It's trying to hang on here, but it is pretty much falling apart. Same thing up across the eastern UP. Snow there also kind of diminishing, and it will kind of run through Stormcast here. Not a whole lot to show you. Tomorrow looks like a decent day. We'll call it partly to mostly cloudy. Now, Saturday night, late, early Sunday, you see that? That's a little snow or a little ice, sleet maybe. So that's why Sunday morning the roads could be a little slippery. But by Sunday afternoon, I think just cloudy. And then Monday, a little round of rain coming through after, temperatures right now are 5 degrees. So it's going to be interesting to see. Here's our extended forecast. A little bit of a wintry mix on Sunday. That is not a big major system. But again, some roads could be a little slippery in the morning. And then just rain and showers expected Monday. We cool down, a couple snow showers. We're not looking at a lot of snow Tuesday and Wednesday, a few snow showers here and there. And I mentioned that chance for some snow on Friday next week. Some of the model guidance we look at bring in a system out of Canada that could bring in some snow and then maybe some lake effect snow next weekend. So we'll keep an eye on that, Maya.
All right, good to know, Joe. Thanks so much. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Well, it is Friday night, which means sports director Harrison Beebe is probably either on his way or actually he's probably already at a couple of basketball games across the area. So let's check in with him now. Harrison, what's going on tonight?
Oh, a little bit of everything is going on tonight. I am through one game. I got 2 more to go on my Friday roundtable lineup, and all close proximity. Not that the roads are too scary today, but I'm in the Traverse City area for 3 games tonight. And Trevor Robideau, our phenomenal weekend meteorologist, he is on the road tonight checking out hockey. Trevor's a huge hockey addict, so I sent him to a hockey game, and that made him very happy. And he'll also catch a couple boys games on the way back. He's in Cadillac for hockey, and he'll catch a couple boys basketball games on the way back. So a decent lineup tonight for hometown highlights. Got a couple more of these before we go on holiday break, but always nice to catch the kids in the early season games here. The basketball season is a long one, but they gotta take their lumps here in the first month of December to really kind of find out what team they are, and that's what these early hometown highlight shows are all about.
Absolutely. What else can people expect tonight during Sports at 11?
That's kind of a big portion of the show, but we're entering a big football weekend. We know Ferris State is going to be playing in the national semifinal tomorrow for Division II college football, taking on Slippery Rock. That is the name of an actual college. Yes, Slippery Rock. Sounds like something you might hear about on Sesame Street, but nope, that is Ferris State's opponent tomorrow. And if they win, they'll be in the national title game, and they've won two years ago and 3 years ago. So this would be 3 and 4 years if they can pull off this tournament run, which would be pretty cool. And I think everyone's got their eyes peeled on Sunday at Ford Field, 4:30, Lions and Bills, the 2 highest scoring offenses as far as points per game are concerned in the NFL.
Should be a good one. I know I'm already getting a little nervous about that game, but hey, they're wearing their all blacks and that their uniforms are all black, and that makes me for some reason feel a little better. So I'm excited about that. All right, Harrison, sorry, I know I just cut you off. We're out of time for sports, so go enjoy the rest of your basketball games tonight. We will see you later, and we will see you folks right after this next commercial break.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Take another look at our question of the day and the live results. Is the price for Mackinac Island ferry tickets fair or too expensive? So the price for an adult winter round trip is at $44. So as of right now, 78% say too expensive, 21% say fair, and 1% say that's a steal. We have a lot of interesting comments on our Facebook post. I want to read a couple. So Dan says, at least there's a winter ferry option for Mackinac, $44 round trip. Seems reasonable given the costs and liability for them to run when weather is challenging and ridership is relatively low. The regular ferry season here on Bois Blanc Island ends November 30th. And then the only option they have is to fly on a charter plane where service is roughly $400 round trip. So when you put it into perspective, maybe that $44 round trip to the island isn't too much. And then Steve says probably fair when you consider the costs involved in operating the ferries. People who aren't involved in maintaining large equipment have no idea the huge costs involved. So a lot of different things to think about when you're looking at the prices for ferry services to Mackinac Island. But that'll do it for Up North Live Unscripted. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and take care.